Emma's fingers had stopped working 15 minutes ago. She couldn't feel them anymore, couldn't unclench her fists from the $20 bill her mother had shoved at her before disappearing into the snow. The bus shelter offered no warmth, just metal and broken plastic, and the certainty that she was going to die here on Christmas Eve, 8 years old and alone, when the motorcycle roared up and the massive man in the Hells Angels vest stepped off. Emma knew she had one choice: freeze to death, waiting for a mother who wasn't coming back, or trust the scarred stranger every adult had warned her about. The engine idled. The man held out his leather jacket, and Emma had 3 seconds to decide if she wanted to live. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of the story and comment below. Tell me what city you're watching from, so I can see how far the story travels. Now, back to that Christmas Eve when everything changed. The cold had stopped hurting about 20 minutes ago, which Emma knew was bad. She learned about hypothermia in school last year, back when she still attended regularly, back before her mother's boyfriend moved in, and everything got worse. Her 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, had said, "When you stop shivering, that's when you're really in trouble." Emma wasn't shivering anymore. She pressed herself tighter against the metal bench inside the bus shelter, trying to make herself smaller, invisible. Cars passed on the street, their headlights cutting through the falling snow, but nobody stopped. Nobody ever stopped. That was something else Emma had learned. People were really good at not seeing things they didn't want to see. The $20 bill was still clutched in her frozen hand. Her mother had said, "Buy yourself something nice, baby. Merry Christmas," like $20, and the lie made up for 3 years of broken promises. Emma had stopped crying about an hour ago. Crying took energy and she needed to save what little she had left. She thought about using the 20 to call someone. But who? Her caseworker, Ms. Morrison, had a family. It was Christmas Eve. The group home wouldn't take her back. They'd made that clear the last time. Her mother's sister lived in California and had told Emma straight to her face last Thanksgiving, "I can't save you, honey. I couldn't even save your mother." So Emma sat and waited and tried not to think about Mrs. Patterson's lesson on hypothermia. That's when she heard it. The deep rumbling growl of a motorcycle engine cutting through the quiet snowfall. Emma's heart jumped. Nothing good ever came on a motorcycle. Her mother's last boyfriend had ridden one, and he'd been the reason Emma learned to sleep with a chair propped against her bedroom door. She tried to make herself even smaller as the sound grew louder, closer. The motorcycle slowed, then stopped right in front of the bus shelter. Through the frosted plastic walls, Emma could make out a massive figure swinging off the bike. Heavy boots crunched in the snow. The shelter door opened and Emma stopped breathing. The man was huge, at least 6'4", with shoulders that seemed too wide for the doorway. His leather vest bore patches Emma recognized from TV news reports. Hells Angels, they called them. The dangerous kind of men. Scars crisscrossed his face, and his arms were covered in tattoos that disappeared under his jacket. His beard was thick and dark, streaked with grey. Emma grabbed the metal bench with both hands, ready to run, even though she knew her frozen legs probably wouldn't carry her far. "Easy," the man said. His voice was rough, like gravel in a washing machine, but quieter than Emma expected. "Not going to hurt you. That's what they all say," Emma heard herself whisper. The man stopped moving. Something flickered across his scarred face, surprise maybe, or recognition. He studied her for a long moment, and Emma stared back, trying not to show how terrified she was. "How long you been out here?" he asked. "None of your business. Your lips are blue." "That is my business." He took a step back, giving her space. "I'm Marcus. What's your name?" Emma didn't answer. Names had power. Once someone knew your name, they could find you, track you, own you. Her mother had taught her that at least, even if she taught her nothing else useful. Marcus seemed to understand. He nodded slowly, then started shrugging out of his heavy leather jacket. "Okay, no names, but you need this more than I do." He held out the jacket. Emma stared at it like it might bite her. It's lined, still warm from the bike. Put it on before you lose your fingers. Why do you care? The question seemed to hit him hard. Marcus's jaw worked, and for a second Emma saw something raw and painful cross his face. Because somebody should have cared about me when I was your age and nobody did. So here we are. He laid the jacket on the bench beside her and stepped back outside the shelter, giving her space to decide. Emma watched him through the plastic wall as he stood in the falling snow, arms crossed against the cold he had just given away. The jacket was still warm. Emma's frozen fingers fumbled with it, and the weight of the leather felt like armor settling over her small frame. The sleeves hung past her hands, and the bottom reached her knees. It smelled like motor oil and leather and something else. Safety, maybe, though Emma didn't trust that feeling. Marcus watched her through the shelter wall, but didn't come back in. After a minute, he spoke, his voice carrying through the thin plastic. You waiting for someone? Emma pulled the jacket tighter. My mom's coming back. How long ago did she leave? 3 hours. She said she had to run an errand. Marcus was quiet for a beat. When he spoke again, his voice was gentler. Kid, it's Christmas Eve. It's 15. The last bus left at 8. If she was coming back, she'd be here by now. The words confirmed what Emma already knew, but hadn't wanted to admit. Her throat got tight, but she'd promised herself no more crying. Crying was for babies, and babies were what got left behind. I've got a house about 2 miles from here, Marcus said. It's warm, got food. I can call whoever you need me to call, police, social services, whatever. But you can't stay here. You'll be dead by morning. And that's not dramatic. That's just fact. How do I know you won't hurt me? You don't. Marcus's honesty was startling. But here's what you do know. You stay here, you die. You come with me. You got a chance. Sometimes a chance is all we get. Emma's fingers had started to regain some feeling inside the warm jacket. And with feeling came pain, the sharp burning pain of frozen tissue thawing. She bit her lip against it. I could just walk away, Marcus continued. Pretend I never saw you. That would be easier. Safer for me. Actually, given my situation. But I stopped because he paused and Emma saw his hands clench into fists, then release. I stopped because nobody stopped for me. And I remember what that felt like. What if I scream? Emma asked. What if I tell people you kidnapped me? Then you tell them that, and I go to jail, and you go into the system. Either way, you're not freezing to death in a bus shelter. So, make your choice. Emma looked down at the $20 bill still clutched in her hand. Her mother's Christmas present. Her mother's goodbye. She thought about Mrs. Patterson's lesson on hypothermia. She thought about the group home that wouldn't take her back. She thought about all the adults who'd promised to help, and then disappeared when things got hard. Marcus was right about one thing. A chance was better than nothing. If you try anything, Emma started. I know, Marcus interrupted. You'll fight back. Good. Don't ever stop fighting back. He pulled out a cell phone, old and battered, and held it up so she could see the screen. See this? It's unlocked. You keep it. Anything happens you don't like, you call 911. Deal. He set the phone on the bench next to her, then stepped back outside again. Emma picked up the phone with trembling fingers. The screen showed a simple home screen. No games, no apps, just the phone function. She tucked it into the jacket pocket, then stood up on legs that barely held her weight. Marcus moved to his motorcycle and returned with a thermos. Hot coffee. Drink some before we go. You need to warm up from the inside. The coffee was terrible, bitter and thick, but it was hot, and Emma felt it burn all the way down to her stomach. The warmth spread slowly, bringing more of that painful thawing sensation. Can you walk? Marcus asked. Emma took a few shaky steps. Her legs felt like they belonged to someone else. Wooden and uncooperative, but they worked. Yeah, I've got a truck parked 2 blocks over. Didn't want to scare you by pulling right up. Can you make it that far? Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. They walked in silence through the empty streets, Emma clutching the oversized jacket around herself. Marcus keeping a careful distance beside her. True to his word, an old pickup truck sat in a parking lot, its paint faded and body dented, but running when he started the engine. The heater blasted cold air at first, then gradually warmed. Emma sat as close to the door as possible, one hand on the handle, ready to jump if needed. Marcus noticed, but said nothing, just adjusted the heat and started driving. "Where are we going?" Emma finally asked. "My place. Like I said. It's not much, but it's warm and it's safe. You live alone." "Yeah, why?" Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Long story, short version. I made a lot of bad choices. Now I'm trying to make better ones." They drove through quiet neighborhoods decorated with Christmas lights, past houses where families were probably gathering, opening presents, being normal. Emma watched them through the frosted window and felt the familiar ache of wanting something she'd never had. The truck turned onto a narrow street where the houses were smaller, older, paint peeling, and yards overgrown. Marcus pulled into the driveway of a one-story house that looked like it was held together by hope and determination. "Home sweet home," he said without irony. Inside, the house was sparse but clean. No decorations, no Christmas tree, nothing that suggested holiday cheer, but it was warm, and when Marcus flipped on the lights, Emma could see everything was organized, orderly. A man who lived alone, but with purpose. "Bathrooms down the hall," Marcus said, pointing. "There's towels under the sink. You can clean up, warm up, whatever you need. I'll make some food." Emma stood frozen in the small living room, suddenly unsure what to do with safety. Marcus seemed to understand. "Look, I get it. You don't know me. You don't trust me. That's smart. So, here's the rules. Bathroom door locks from the inside. Bedroom door locks from the inside. Front door and back door don't lock from the outside. You can leave any time you want. And you keep that phone. Anything feels wrong, you use it. We clear? Why are you doing this?" The question made Marcus pause in the kitchen doorway. When he turned back, his scarred face looked tired and sad. "Because once upon a time, I was a scared kid with nowhere to go and nobody to help. And the people who took me in weren't good people. They made me into something I'm still trying to unmake. So maybe this is me paying a debt I owe to a version of myself that doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe I'm just trying to prove I'm not the monster everyone thinks I am. Either way, you're here, you're safe, and that's what matters tonight." He disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Emma alone with her confusion and his unexpected honesty. The bathroom was small but clean. The towels exactly where he said they'd be. Emma locked the door and ran hot water over her hands, wincing as the pain intensified with the warmth. She stared at herself in the mirror, pale face, hollow eyes, hair matted with snow and neglect. 8 years old and already looking like someone who'd survived too much. When she emerged, Marcus had set out a bowl of soup on the small kitchen table, steam rising in the warm air, crackers on the side, a glass of water. Nothing fancy, but more than Emma had eaten all day. "Chicken noodle," Marcus said from where he stood near the stove, giving her space. "It's from a can, but it's hot." Emma sat down slowly, waiting for the catch, the price, the demand. But Marcus just returned to the stove, stirring something in a pot for himself, his back to her like he was deliberately not watching. The soup was good, not gourmet, not special, just good in the way that warm food is good when you're starving and frozen. Emma ate slowly at first, then faster, her body demanding fuel. "There's more if you want it," Marcus said without turning around. "I'm okay," he nodded, still not looking. "When you're done, the bedroom's yours. Clean sheets, door locks. I'll sleep out here on the couch." "I can sleep on the couch." "No." His voice was firm. "You get the bed. I've slept in worse places than a couch. Believe me." Emma finished her soup in silence. Then Marcus showed her to the bedroom. It was simple, a bed, a dresser, a lamp. No personal items. Nothing that made it feel like anyone's room. Just functional space. "I'll be right outside if you need anything," Marcus said from the doorway. "But I won't come in unless you ask. That's a promise." He started to close the door, but Emma's voice stopped him. "Why should I believe your promises? Everyone breaks them," Marcus stood there, his large frame filling the doorway, and Emma saw something crack in his expression. "You're right not to trust promises, but I'll tell you what I told myself the day I left my old life behind. Words are cheap, actions are what count, so don't believe my promises. Watch my actions. If they don't match, then you'll know." He closed the door softly, and Emma heard his heavy footsteps moving away. She locked the door, then checked the window, unlocked, accessible, an escape route if needed. The bed was soft, the blankets clean like he'd said. Emma sat on the edge, still wearing Marcus's huge leather jacket, and pulled out the cell phone. She stared at the numbers, her thumb hovering over 911. One call, and this would all be over. Social services would come. She'd go back into the system, back to the group homes, the temporary placements, the cycle of being moved and forgotten. But something made her hesitate. Marcus's words echoed in her head. "Watch my actions." Emma set the phone on the nightstand within arm's reach and lay down fully clothed on top of the blankets. She was too exhausted to sleep, too wired to relax. Caught in that terrible space between fear and desperate hope. In the living room, Marcus sat on his worn couch, head in his hands, wondering what the hell he had just done. His phone buzzed. A text from Viper Rodriguez, his former vice president in the Hells Angels. "Heard you picked up a stray. That's not like you. Hammer. What's going on?" Marcus stared at the message, his blood running cold. They already knew. Of course they knew. The Angels had eyes everywhere in this town. And he just painted a target on his back, and worse, on an 8-year-old girl who'd already been through hell. He typed back, "Just helping a kid. None of your business." The response came immediately. "Everything you do is our business. Remember that?" Marcus deleted both messages and set the phone down. Through the thin walls, he could hear Emma moving around in the bedroom, restless, unable to settle. He knew that feeling. He'd lived it 4 years. His eyes drifted to the locked safe in his closet, where he kept his old .45. For 22 years with the Angels, that gun had been his solution to every problem. Violence was easy. Violence was familiar. But Emma's voice cut through his thoughts. "Why should I believe your promises?" Marcus stood and walked to his front window, looking out at the quiet snow-covered street. Somewhere out there, the Angels were watching. His past was circling like a shark, looking for weakness, waiting for a chance to pull him back under. He told Emma that actions mattered more than words. Now he had to prove it to her, and to himself. In the bedroom, Emma finally closed her eyes, exhaustion winning over fear. Her last conscious thought was of Marcus's scarred hands, setting that phone beside her, giving her the power to destroy him with one call, and choosing to trust her anyway. Neither of them knew it yet. But that Christmas Eve was the beginning of something neither could have predicted. A battle not just for Emma's future, but for Marcus' soul. And neither of them was ready for how hard the fight would become. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains, and Emma woke with her heart pounding, disoriented and terrified before she remembered where she was. The bedroom door was still locked from the inside. The phone still sat on the nightstand, but something was wrong. The house was too quiet. Emma pressed her ear against the door, listening for any sound of movement. Nothing. She unlocked the door slowly, silently, and crept into the hallway. The living room was empty. The couch showed evidence of someone sleeping there. A rumpled blanket, a flattened pillow. But Marcus was gone. Her stomach dropped. Of course, he was gone. Everyone left. That's what people did. Emma moved through the house, checking each room. And that's when she saw it. The small kitchen table had food laid out. Toast, butter, jam, a glass of orange juice. A note written in rough handwriting. Had to run out. Back by 9 o'clock. Eat something. Doors unlocked if you want to leave. Your choice. The clock on the wall read 8:15. Emma stared at the food and the note, trying to decode what it meant. He'd left her alone in his house, left the door unlocked, given her permission to disappear. It felt like a test, but she couldn't figure out what answer he wanted. She was hungry enough that the decision made itself. Emma ate the toast standing up, ready to run if she heard the door open. The orange juice was fresh, not the cheap, frozen kind She was used to small things, but they registered. While she ate, her eyes wandered to the photos on the wall. Most were old, faded. Marcus with a younger girl who had his same dark eyes. The girl couldn't have been more than 16 in the photos, and in every picture, she was smiling. Marcus looked younger, too, less scarred, but already hard around the edges. Emma was studying a photo of Marcus and the girl standing next to a motorcycle when she heard the front door open. She spun around, her body tensing for flight, but it was Marcus carrying grocery bags. He stopped when he saw her, like he wasn't sure she'd still be there. "You stayed," he said. "Your note said 9. It's only 8:30. Something flickered across Marcus's face. Maybe relief, maybe surprise. Fair enough. "You eat?" "Yeah." He moved to the kitchen and started unpacking groceries. Real food, not just canned soup. Eggs, bread, milk, cereal, fruit. "Figured you might be here a few days until we sort things out." Needed supplies. "Who's the girl in the photos?" Marcus's hand stilled on a carton of eggs. "My sister Sarah." "Where is she?" "Dead. 15 years now." The blunt honesty hit Emma hard. "How?" "Frozen to death in an alley when she was 19. Drug overdose first. Then the cold finished her." Marcus resumed unpacking, his movements mechanical. "I was in prison. Couldn't help her. Couldn't save her. Couldn't do anything but get the news 3 days late." Emma didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. "That's why I stopped last night," Marcus continued, his voice flat. "Saw you in that shelter, and all I could see was Sarah. All the times people drove past her. Pretended not to see. Decided she wasn't their problem." He looked directly at Emma. "I wasn't going to be one of those people." "Not again." Before Emma could respond, Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his jaw tightened. "I need to take this." "It's your caseworker." "How do you know who my caseworker is?" "Because I called social services this morning from the parking lot. Told them I had an abandoned minor. They pulled up your file." He answered the phone. "This is Marcus Stone." Emma watched his face change as he listened, his expression growing darker. "Yeah, she's here. She's safe, fed, warm, unharmed." A pause. "No, I'm not family. I found her freezing in a bus shelter last night." Another pause, longer this time. "I understand that." But he fell silent, listening. "When can you get here?" His hand clenched around the phone. "That's 3 days from now. What's she supposed to do until then?" Marcus's eyes cut to Emma, and she saw something in them that made her stomach hurt. Defeat. "Fine. Yeah, I'll keep her here until then." "No, I understand the situation. I'll have her ready." He hung up and stood motionless, staring at the phone. "What did they say?" Emma asked, though she already knew. "Caseworker's name is Janet Morrison. She's out of state visiting family for Christmas. Can't get back until the 27th. She said you can stay here until then. But after that," he stopped. "After that, I go to the group home." She didn't say that exactly, but that's what she meant. Emma felt the familiar numbness settling in. 3 days. She had 3 days of warmth and food and maybe safety. And then she'd be back where she started. It was almost worse than never having it at all. Marcus set down the groceries with more force than necessary. "I told her about your mother. She's pulling the case file. If your mother's officially abandoned you, they'll terminate her rights. But that takes time, months, probably. Until then, you're technically in state custody, which means nobody wants me. But I can't be adopted either." "I know how it works." The bitterness in her own voice surprised Emma. She thought she was past feeling things, past caring, but apparently not. Marcus opened his mouth to respond, but a knock at the door cut him off. Not a friendly knock. Hard, demanding 3 sharp raps that made Emma's heart jump. "Stay here," Marcus said, his voice suddenly harder. He walked to the door and opened it without checking who it was first. And Emma realized that was the move of someone who didn't fear much. The man on the porch was tall and lean with slicked back hair and a leather vest identical to the one Emma had seen on Marcus's coat rack. His face was all sharp angles and cold eyes, and when he smiled, it didn't reach anywhere near those eyes. Hammer, the man said, using a name Emma didn't recognize. Long time. Viper. Marcus's voice had gone flat, emotionless. What do you want? Can't I visit an old friend? Viper's eyes slid past Marcus to where Emma stood frozen in the kitchen doorway. Although, I heard you made a new friend. She's nobody. Just a kid I'm helping until social services picks her up. That's not what I heard. Viper leaned against the door frame, casual but somehow threatening. I heard you're playing house, getting domestic. That's not like you. Hammer. I go by Marcus now and I don't answer to the club anymore. Remember? See, that's where you're wrong. Viper's smile disappeared. You don't leave the Angels. Not really. Blood in, blood out. That's what you swore. I left 2 years ago. You got no claim on me. We've got claims on everyone who wears the patch. You think testifying in federal courts makes you clean. You think helping with RICO prosecutions makes you a good guy. Viper's voice dropped to something dangerous. You're still ours. And this, he gestured toward Emma. This is a liability. Emma saw Marcus' shoulders tense, saw his hands curl into fists. For a second, she thought he might hit Viper. And the scary part was, she could see he wanted to. But Marcus' voice stayed controlled. Emma, go to your room. I don't take orders from you. Emma shot back before she could stop herself. Viper laughed. Kid's got spirit. I like her. What's your story, little girl? Mommy leave you. Daddy never around. Don't talk to her, Marcus said. And now there was real threat in his voice. Why? You her protector now. You the guy who broke Jimmy Torres' skull with a tire iron. The guy who burned down the Sanchez clubhouse with 3 people inside. That Marcus Stone thinks he can protect an 8-year-old girl. Viper's laugh was ugly. You're a killer, Hammer. You're good at exactly one thing and it's not playing daddy. Marcus moved faster than Emma thought someone his size could move. 1 second he was standing in the doorway. The next he had Viper against the porch railing, forearm across his throat. You come to my house. You threaten a child. You think I forgot how to hurt people. I didn't forget. I'm choosing not to. But you keep pushing and I'll remember real quick. Viper didn't struggle. Just smiled that cold smile. There he is. There's the Hammer. I knew you couldn't hide from what you are, brother. Marcus released him with a shove and stepped back. Get off my property. We're not done. The club's expanding operations into Riverdale. We need someone who knows the territory, knows the people. You're coming back one way or another. I'm not. Then you're a problem, and we solve problems. Viper straightened his jacket, his eyes sliding to Emma again. Cute kid. Be a shame if something happened while you're at work. These neighborhoods aren't safe. You know, lots of accidents happen. Marcus went very still. You threatening her. I'm stating facts. You want to protect her. You do it from inside the club. Otherwise, Viper shrugged. Well, you know how these things go. He walked down the porch steps, paused, and looked back. You've got 48 hours to think about it. After that, we'll assume you made your choice, and we'll make ours. Viper disappeared around the corner, and Marcus stood on the porch, his entire body vibrating with barely contained rage. Emma had never seen someone so close to exploding, while staying so still. When Marcus finally came back inside, his face was scary, not because he looked angry, but because he looked empty. He walked straight to the kitchen sink and braced his hands against the counter, breathing hard. Who was that? Emma asked, even though she'd heard everything. Someone from my past. Someone I can't get away from. He said you killed people. Marcus's shoulders hunched. Yeah, did you? Yeah. The simple admission hung in the air. Emma knew she should be terrified, should grab that phone and call 911 like Marcus had told her to. But something stopped her. Why? She asked instead. Marcus turned to face her, and the look on his face was so raw it hurt to see. Because I was angry. Because I was stupid. Because I thought violence made me strong, and the club made me family, and the only way to prove loyalty was through blood. He slid down to sit on the floor, back against the cabinets. I was 17 when I joined. lost, angry, looking for somewhere to belong. The angels gave me that. They also turned me into a weapon. Emma moved closer, cautious. What changed? Prison. 20 months in solitary, for a fight went wrong. Nothing to do but think about every person I'd hurt, every choice I'd made. Got out, tried to stay clean, but the club doesn't let go easy. He looked at her. I've been trying to make amends for 2 years, testifying, helping the feds, staying away from the life. But Viper's right about one thing. You don't just leave. What did he mean about coming back? They want me to help run drugs through Riverdale, use my construction job as cover, recruit locals, expand their territory. I said number 6 months ago. They're not taking no for an answer. Emma sat down on the floor across from him, their knees almost touching in the narrow space. What happens if you say no again? They'll come after me, make my life hell until I give in, or die trying to resist. What about me? Marcus met her eyes. That's the problem. Before last night, I had nothing they could use against me. But now he stopped, pain crossing his face. Now they know you matter, which makes you a target. So, you're going to send me away. I should. That's the smart play. Get you to social services early. Wash my hands of this. Keep you safe by keeping you far from me. But, I don't want to. The admission seemed to cost him something. For 2 years, I've been going through the motions, doing what I'm supposed to do, but not feeling anything, not caring about anything. And then I saw you in that shelter, and something woke up, something I thought was dead. He rubbed his scarred hands over his face. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you. But I don't know how to keep you safe. Emma's phone, Marcus's phone, that he'd given her, rang from where she'd left it on the kitchen table. They both stared at it. You should answer that, Marcus said. Emma retrieved the phone. The number was unfamiliar. Hello, baby. Oh my God, baby. Is that you? Her mother's voice, slurred and desperate, poured through the speaker. Emma's hand tightened on the phone. Mom, I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to leave you. I needed to. Crying, incoherent. Where are you? Are you safe? I'm fine. I'm coming to get you. I'm getting clean. I promise. Just tell me where you are. Emma looked at Marcus, who was watching her with careful, neutral eyes, giving her space to make her own choice. Mom, how many times have you promised to get clean? The question seemed to sober her mother up. This time is different. That's what you said last time, and the time before, and the time before that. Emma, please, you left me in a bus shelter, Mom, on Christmas Eve in the snow. I could have died. I know. I'm sorry. No. Emma's voice came out stronger than she felt. You're not sorry. You're just scared because social services probably called you. You're scared you'll lose custody officially, lose the benefits check. But you already lost me. You lost me a long time ago. Marcus's eyes widened slightly, surprise flickering across his face. Baby, don't say that. I have to go. Emma hung up and set the phone down with shaking hands. That took guts, Marcus said quietly. She called back. She always does. Emma's chest felt tight, like she couldn't get enough air. And eventually, I'll answer. And eventually, I'll forgive her. And eventually, she'll do it again. That's how it works. It doesn't have to. What's the alternative? You. Emma heard the harshness in her voice and couldn't stop it. You're one bad decision away from going back to your old life. You said it yourself. They won't let go. So, what happens to me when you give up? When you decide I'm not worth the fight? The question hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stood up slowly, walked to the window, stared out at nothing. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. My sister Sarah used to ask me the same thing. What happens when you give up on me, Marcus? And I'd promise her I never would. Then I got arrested, sent to prison, and she died alone in an alley because I wasn't there to save her. He turned to face Emma. I've lived with that for 15 years. Every day I wake up and remember that I failed the one person who needed me most. So when I tell you I won't give up on you, I know exactly what that promise costs. and I'm making it anyway. Emma wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly it physically hurt. Viper gave you 48 hours, she said instead. Yeah. What are you going to do? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Janet Morrison. This is Marcus Stone. We spoke this morning about Emma Russo. He paused. I know you're out of state, but I need to know something. If I wanted to apply for emergency foster placement, what would that process look like? Emma's heart stopped. Marcus listened, his face growing darker. I understand I have a record, but hypothetically, more listening. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. Okay. Thanks for your time. He hung up and looked at Emma with something like resignation. I can't foster you. My record disqualifies me automatically. Assault, weapons charges, gang affiliation. It's too much. Morrison said there's no scenario where the state approves placement. So, what happens in 3 days? Group home. Then they'll try to place you with a family. But at your age with your history, he stopped. It'll be hard. I've heard this before. I know. Marcus sat down heavily on the couch. But I'm not disappearing. Morrison said, I can petition for visitation rights as an interested party. It's not custody, but it's something. I can still be in your life, even if it's just supervised visits. Supervised visits, Emma repeated flatly, like I'm in prison, too. It's better than nothing, is it? Emma felt something breaking inside her, the fragile hope she let herself feel crumbling into dust. You know what? Forget it. Just call Morrison back and tell her to come get me today. I don't want to wait 3 days pretending this is something it's not. Emma, don't, just don't. She walked to the bedroom, grabbed Marcus's leather jacket that she'd slept in, and threw it at him. Thanks for the rescue. It was real noble, but I don't need another person feeling sorry for me. She slammed the bedroom door, locked it, and pressed her back against it, waiting for Marcus to knock, to try to explain, to do something. But he didn't. Instead, she heard the front door open and close. Through the window, she saw Marcus get in his truck and drive away. And Emma realized that even when people promised to stay, even when they meant it, sometimes the world just didn't let them. She was still alone. Emma sat on the bedroom floor for 20 minutes, listening to the silence before she heard the truck pull back into the driveway. The front door opened and Marcus' heavy footsteps moved through the house, but he didn't come to the bedroom. Instead, she heard him in the kitchen, the sound of cabinets opening, water running. She wanted to go out there. She wanted to stay locked in here forever. She wanted to scream at him for leaving. Even though she told him to go, nothing made sense anymore. A soft knock on the door. Emma, I'm not asking you to open up. Just want you to know I'm back. And I brought someone. Who? Pastor David Wright from Riverdale Community Church. He's the one who runs the AA meetings I go to. I need to talk to him about some things. And I thought maybe you'd want to be part of that conversation. But it's your choice. Emma pressed her forehead against the door. Why would I want to talk to some pastor? Because he knows people who might be able to help, and because I'm out of ideas and asking for help is something I'm trying to learn how to do. Marcus's voice was closer now, like he was sitting on the floor on the other side of the door. I know you're mad at me. You got every right to be. But I meant what I said about not giving up. So, I'm trying something different. Emma unlocked the door and opened it. Marcus was indeed sitting on the floor, his back against the wall, looking tired and older than he had this morning. In the living room, a man in his 60s with kind eyes and graying hair sat on the couch, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt instead of any kind of church clothes. Emma, Marcus said. This is Pastor David. David. This is Emma. Just David's fine, the pastor said, standing but not approaching. Marcus tells me you two met under some rough circumstances. He told you I was abandoned. He told me you were found. Different thing. David's eyes were sharp, but not judgmental. Also told me he's trying to do right by you, but hitting walls everywhere he turns. That sound about accurate. Emma looked at Marcus, who nodded slightly. Yeah, she said quietly. Well, then let's talk about walls, and how we might go through them instead of into them. David sat back down. Marcus says social services won't approve forced placement because of his record. That true, Marcus? That's what Morrison said. I'm disqualified automatically. Did she say anything about kinship placement or safety placement exceptions? Marcus frowned. She didn't mention those. That's because most caseworkers don't know they exist. There are emergency provisions for situations where a child has bonded with a non-relative caregiver and removal would cause psychological harm. David pulled out a phone and started typing. It's rare, requires a court order, and needs documentation from therapists, but it's possible. I've known her for 2 days, Marcus said. What bond? The bond where she's standing in that doorway instead of locked in the bedroom. The bond where you drove to my church at 7 in the morning asking for a help instead of solving this problem the way you used to solve problems. David looked up from his phone. I've known you for 2 years, Marcus. This is the first time I've seen you care about something more than you care about staying safe. That's bond. Emma felt something twist in her chest. She moved into the living room and sat in the chair farthest from both men. But she sat. That was something. Even if this exception exists, Marcus said, I'd need a lawyer, money for court fees, time I don't have. Viper gave me 48 hours to decide about the club. Who's Viper? David asked, but his tone suggested he already knew the type of person. My old vice president, Hell's Angels. They want me back in running operations in Riverdale. I said no. He said, I don't get to say no. David was quiet for a moment. What happens if you refuse again? They make my life hell. Or worse, they go after people I care about. Marcus glanced at Emma, which is why getting her into the system would actually be the safest option. If I'm not her guardian, she's not my weakness. That's tactical thinking, David said. But is it right thinking? I don't know anymore. I'm trying to do the right thing, but every choice feels wrong. Emma spoke up before she could stop herself. What if you just left, took off, went somewhere else, started over? They'd find me, and they'd be angry when they did. Running makes it worse. What if you went back to them? The words tasted like poison, but Emma needed to know. What if you just did what they wanted? Marcus's face went hard. Then I'd be the man I spent 2 years trying not to be. I'd be useful to them, which means I'd be doing things that hurt people, selling drugs that destroy families, recruiting kids who don't know better, enforcing territory through violence. He looked directly at Emma. I'd be the kind of man who leaves 8-year-olds in bus shelters, not the kind who stops to help them. So, you're trapped. Yeah, I'm trapped. David stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. You know what I see from here? I see Mrs. Chen's house across the way. I see the Martinez family next door. I see old Mr. Robertson down the block. You know what they all have in common? No idea, Marcus said. They've all told me stories about you. Mrs. Chen says you shovel her walk every time it snows. Martinez says you fixed his truck for free when he couldn't afford the shop. Robertson says you bring his groceries in when his arthritis acts up. David turned back to face them. You think you're alone in this fight, but you're not. This neighborhood knows who you are now, not who you were. And people protect their own, David. I appreciate that. But neighborhood goodwill doesn't stop the Hell's Angels, no. But community does. Witnesses do. Public attention does. David pulled out his phone again. I'm calling Janet Morrison right now. We're going to talk about that safety placement exception. Then I'm calling Judge Patricia Owens. She goes to my church and she's the family court judge for this district. Then I'm calling the local news, because nothing makes gangs nervous like cameras. You can't. Marcus started. Watch me. David was already dialing. You've been fighting alone for 2 years, Marcus. Time to let people help. Emma watched David walk into the kitchen, phone to his ear, his voice confident and calm as he explained the situation to someone on the other end. Marcus sat on the couch looking stunned, like he couldn't quite process what was happening. Does this kind of thing actually work? Emma asked. I don't know, Marcus admitted. I've never tried it. From the kitchen, they could hear David's voice. Janet, it's David, right? I'm standing in Marcus Stone's living room with a little girl who needs our help, and I need you to walk me through the safety placement exception process." Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his jaw tightened. "It's Viper. Don't answer it," Emma said quickly. "I have to. If I ignore him, he'll assume I'm making my choice, and he'll act on that assumption," Marcus answered. "Yeah." Even from across the room, Emma could hear Viper's voice, sharp and angry. "Saw a pastor's car in your driveway. Hammer, you praying now? That's cute. What do you want?" "Viper wanted to give you an update on your timeline. Talked to the chapter president. He's less patient than I am. You've got 24 hours now, not 48, noon tomorrow. You're either with us or against us. And if you're against us, well, the threat hung unfinished. I'm not coming back. Then you're making a mistake. Think about the kid. Hammer. Think about what happens to little girls who get caught in crossfire." Marcus's hand clenched around the phone so hard Emma heard the case crack. "You go near her and everything I know about club operations goes to the feds. Every name, every location, every deal. I'll burn it all down. You already testified. You think you got more leverage." Viper laughed. "We've adapted. New operations, new people. Your information's old news, but threats against a child, that's new territory, even for you. Try me. Noon tomorrow. Hammer." Clock's ticking. The line went dead. Marcus set the phone down carefully, like he was afraid of what he'd do if he held it any longer. His hands were shaking. David came back into the room, his face serious. "Morrison's checking on the exception paperwork. She can't promise anything, but she's willing to explore options. Judge Owens can see us tomorrow at 3 if we file an emergency petition." "I might not be alive at 3 tomorrow," Marcus said flatly. "What just happened?" Marcus explained Viper's call, the shortened timeline, the threats. David listened without interrupting, and when Marcus finished, the pastor sat down heavily. "Okay," David said. "Okay. We need to move faster than I thought." "There is no moving faster. The system takes time, and I'm out of time." "Then we don't use the system. Not yet." David pulled out his phone again. "I'm calling an emergency congregation meeting tonight. 7 o'clock. We're going to fill your house with witnesses, with community, with people who will stand between you and the angels." "David, you can't ask church people to." "I'm not asking, I'm telling. And they'll come because that's what we do. We show up for each other." David was already texting, his thumbs flying across the screen. "Emma, you got a phone?" She held up the one Marcus had given her. "Good. You keep that on you at all times. You see anything suspicious, anyone you don't recognize, you call 911 first and the second. I'm putting my number in there now." He reached for the phone and Emma handed it over. Watching as he programmed his contact information, Marcus looked overwhelmed. "This is insane, probably, but we're doing it anyway." David handed Emma back her phone. "How many people you think Viper has in Riverdale?" "Maybe 8, 10 active members, couple dozen associates. My congregation is 300 strong, and that's just the ones who show up on Sundays. We start making calls, mobilizing the community. You'll have more eyes on this house than the angels can handle. They'll see that as escalation. Let them. You've been playing defense for 2 years, Marcus. Time to play offense." David stood up. "I'm going to make calls. You two should eat something. Long night ahead." He stepped outside, phone already to his ear, and Emma heard him say, "Sarah, it's David. I need you to call the prayer chain. We've got an emergency situation." Marcus sat motionless on the couch, looking shell-shocked. Emma moved to sit next to him, leaving a careful space between them. "Is he always like this?" she asked. "I've never seen him like this. Usually, he's all about peace and patience and letting God handle things. Maybe God's handling it through him." Marcus looked at her, surprised. "You believe in that stuff?" "I don't know what I believe, but I know that Guy just turned your impossible situation into something that might actually work. So, either he's crazy or he's onto something. Could be both." They sat in silence for a moment, and Emma felt the weight of everything pressing down. She thought about her mother's call, about the group home waiting for her, about Viper's threats and Marcus' past, and all the ways this could go wrong. Marcus, yeah, if you had to choose between keeping me and keeping yourself alive, which would you pick? The question seemed to hurt him physically. That's not a choice I'm willing to make. But if you had to. He turned to face her fully. Emma, I've lived 45 years, and most of them I've wasted. I've hurt people, destroyed things, made the world worse just by being in it. You're 8 years old with your whole life ahead of you, so yeah, if it came down to it, I'd pick you every time without hesitation. That's stupid probably, but it's true. Emma felt tears burning her eyes and blinked them back hard. I don't want you to die for me. I want you to live for me. There's a difference. Marcus's expression softened. Then, I guess we better make sure we both get out of this alive. David came back inside. His face flushed with excitement. Okay. We've got 40 people coming at 7. Sarah's organizing food. Tom's bringing his security cameras. Used to run a protection business before he retired. Linda's married to a lawyer who specializes in family court. She's calling him now. And Father Miguel from St. Anthony's is coming, too, because this is bigger than denomination. David, this is too much. It's not enough, but it's a start. David sat down across from them. Here's what's going to happen. At 7, this house fills up with people. We document everything. Who's here? Why they're here, what the situation is. We create a record. Then we maintain a presence round the clock. People in this house, people watching the street. The angels want to make a move. They'll have to do it in front of witnesses. They might not care about witnesses, Marcus said. Then they'll end up on the news and the police will have to act. Either way, we make it harder for them. Emma's phone rang. A known number. She showed Marcus, who nodded. Double quotes. Hello. Emma Russo. A woman's voice. Professional and tired. Yes, this is Janet Morrison. I spoke with Pastor Wright and I've been reviewing your file. I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Emma looked at Marcus, who gestured for her to answer. Okay. Are you safe where you are right now? Yes. Has Marcus Stone hurt you or threatened you in any way? No. He's been. Emma struggled for the right word. He's been kind. Kind how? He gave me food, a bed, his jacket when I was freezing. He hasn't asked for anything back. Morrison was quiet for a moment. Emma, I need you to understand something. Marcus has a criminal history, violence, gang activity. The law says I can't place you with someone like that, no matter how kind he's being right now. So, you're taking me away. I'm saying it's complicated. There is an emergency provision that might apply, but it requires documentation, evaluations, court approval. It would take weeks, maybe months. I don't have weeks. Some people are coming after Marcus tomorrow. And they said they'd hurt me to get to him. Morrison's tone sharpened. What people? Emma explained about Viper, about the angels, about the threats. As she talked, she watched Marcus's face, saw him reliving every word. Emma, I need to speak with Marcus. Can you put him on? Emma handed over the phone. Marcus took it with visible reluctance. This is Marcus. Emma couldn't hear Morrison's side of the conversation, but she watched Marcus's reactions, tension, frustration, resignation, then something that might have been hope. Are you serious? Marcus asked. That's actually possible. A pause. What are the conditions? Another pause. I can do that. Yeah, all of it. When would this start? His eyes widened. Tonight. But the courtier he listened. Okay. Okay. I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Janet. He hung up and stared at the phone like it might disappear. What did she say? Emma asked. She's filing emergency paperwork for a 72-hour safety hold. Basically, you stay here under protective supervision while she petitions the court for a temporary placement order. It's not permanent. It's barely legal, but it buys us time. What's the catch? House has to be under constant supervision. Someone has to be here 24/7 documenting that you're safe. Morrison or another caseworker has to check in daily. And if anything goes wrong, anything, you go straight into state custody. and I lose all rights to petition for placement. David grinned. Constant supervision. We can do that. We were already planning on it. There's more, Marcus said. Morrison talked to Judge Owens. If we can prove community support, ongoing stability, and that removal would be psychologically harmful, the judge might grant a provisional placement. But I'd have to complete parenting classes, maintain employment, submit to home visits, and stay completely clean. No gang contact, no violence, nothing. That's a lot of ifs, Emma said. Yeah, but it's a chance. Morrison said she'd never seen a case like this work. But Marcus's voice cracked slightly. She said she'd never seen a community mobilize this fast either. David's calls already made a difference. The doorbell rang. All three of them jumped. Marcus looked at the clock. It's only 5:30. Nobody should be here yet. He moved to the window, looked out, and his entire body went rigid. It's Viper. And he brought friends. Through the window, Emma could see 3 motorcycles parked in the driveway, their riders standing in a loose semicircle facing the house. Viper stood in front, arms crossed, that cold smile on his face. David stood up. I'll go with you, David. These aren't church people. They're dangerous. Then it's a good thing I'm not going alone. David pulled out his phone. I'm live streaming this to the congregation. Anything happens, 300 people have video evidence. He walked to the door and opened it before Marcus could stop him. Emma moved to where she could see, but stay hidden, her heart hammering. Gentlemen, David said pleasantly. Can I help you? Viper's smile widened. Well, the holy man himself. You Hammer's bodyguard now. I'm his pastor and his friend, and you are. None of your concern, preacher. Our business is with Marcus. Marcus appeared in the doorway next to David. My business is done, Viper. I gave you my answer. See, that's the problem. You think you get to make that choice. But the thing about family, Viper gestured to the men beside him, is that family doesn't abandon family. And when family goes rogue, family corrects the situation. I'm not your family anymore. Blood in, blood out. You know the oath. David held up his phone, making sure Viper could see the screen. This conversation is being recorded and streamed live to my congregation. Anything you say or do is being witnessed by multiple people. Just so we're clear. Viper's eyes narrowed, but his smile never faltered. Technology, isn't that something? He looked past David and Marcus to where Emma was watching. Hey there, little girl. Enjoying your new home? Don't talk to her, Marcus growled. Why not? She's part of this now. Might as well know what she's gotten into. Viper raised his voice slightly. Your new daddy there. He's got blood on his hands. Literally. I was there when he beat a man to death with a hammer. That's how he got his name. You sleeping okay at night knowing that? Emma stepped forward before Marcus could stop her. She moved to stand between the two men, looking directly at Viper. Yeah, I know what he did, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. He told me. He didn't lie or hide it. But you know what else I know? He stopped. He changed. He chose to be different. What have you chosen? Viper stared at her, his smile finally disappearing. Kid's got spirit. Shame about what's going to happen to her. Marcus moved so fast Emma didn't see it coming. 1 second he was standing still. The next he had Viper by the collar, lifting him off the ground. You threaten her again, Marcus said, his voice deadly quiet. And I don't care about consequences. I don't care about going back to prison. I will end you. The two men flanking Viper moved forward, but David stepped between them, phone still recording. I wouldn't, David said calmly. You're already on camera threatening a child and assaulting someone on their own property. Add battery to that, and you'll have police here in minutes. Viper laughed even as Marcus held him. You think cameras scare me? You think police scare me? No, Marcus said, setting him down, but not releasing his collar. But this should. Emma's under state protection now. Official documentation, caseworkers checking in daily. Any harm comes to her. You don't deal with me. You deal with federal kidnapping charges, child endangerment, and every law enforcement agency in the state looking for you. So, go ahead, Make your move, see what happens. It was a bluff. The paperwork wasn't official yet. But Viper didn't know that. Viper straightened his jacket when Marcus finally released him. You're making powerful enemies. Already had them. What's a few more? Viper looked at each of them, Marcus, David, Emma, then back at his men. Let's go. This isn't over. They mounted their motorcycles and rode off, engines roaring defiance into the quiet evening. Marcus stood shaking in the doorway. David ended the live stream and put a hand on his shoulder. That was either very brave or very stupid, David said. Probably both. Marcus looked down at Emma. You shouldn't have come out here. Neither should you. Fair point. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from a number she didn't recognize. That was impressive. This is Judge Owens. Pastor Wright gave me your number. I'm expediting your hearing to tomorrow. For 9 a.m. be ready. She showed the text to Marcus and David. Marcus read it twice, like he couldn't believe it was real. Tomorrow at 9, he repeated. If we survive tonight, we will, David said with certainty Emma wished she felt, because at 7 o'clock, this house is going to be full of people who won't let anything happen to either of you. And Emma realized that for the first time in her life. She wasn't facing the darkness alone. By 6:30, cars started arriving. Emma watched from the window as people she'd never met pulled into the driveway, parked along the street, carrying casserole dishes and folding chairs, like they were preparing for a siege disguised as a potluck. Marcus stood in the kitchen looking overwhelmed. I don't know these people. Yes, you do, David said, directing traffic from the front porch. That's Sarah Chen, who you've been helping with her groceries for 6 months. That's Tom Martinez, whose truck you fixed. That's the Henderson family, whose daughter you pulled out of a car accident last year. You didn't think I knew about that, but word gets around. I didn't do those things for recognition. I know. That's why they're here. Mrs. Cheng came through the door carrying a pot of something that smelled like heaven. She walked straight to Emma and smiled. You must be the little girl Marcus has been worried about. I'm Helen. You like egg rolls? Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. Good. I made extra. Helen squeezed Emma's shoulder and moved to the kitchen, commandeering counter space like she owned it. More people flooded in. Tom Martinez set up cameras at every window. A woman named Linda arrived with her husband, Frank, who turned out to be the family court lawyer. A younger couple brought sleeping bags. An elderly man Emma didn't recognize brought a shotgun, which made Marcus immediately intervene. Mr. Robertson, you can and will, Robertson said firmly. Nobody's hurting this child or you, while I'm breathing. Gun stays. David caught Marcus's eye and nodded slightly. Marcus let it go. By 7:15, the small house was packed with 47 people. Emma counted. 47 strangers who dropped everything on a Friday night to stand between her and violence. The weight of it made her chest tight. Frank, the lawyer, pulled Marcus and Emma into the bedroom, where it was quieter. Judge Owens moved your hearing to 9 a.m., which is good and bad. Good because it's fast. Bad because we have almost no time to prepare. What do I need to do? Marcus asked. Be honest. Show that you understand the gravity of your past, but demonstrate real change. The judge will want to see evidence of stability, community support, and genuine commitment. Frank looked at Emma. She also wants to hear from you. You comfortable talking to a judge? Emma thought about it. What do I say? The truth. How you met Marcus. How he's treated you. Whether you feel safe. Whether you want to stay with him. Frank's expression was kind, but serious. The judge will ask hard questions about his past, about the angels, about what happened today with Viper. You need to be ready. I can handle it. I know you can. But Emma, you should also know even with all the support, even with community testimony, the odds are still against placement. Marcus' record is severe. The state has legitimate concerns. This judge is fair, but she follows the law. So, you're saying we'll lose. I'm saying it's an uphill battle, but I've seen Judge Owens make exceptions when the situation warrants it. We just need to prove this is one of those situations. A crash from the living room made all three of them jump. Marcus moved first, Emma right behind him. In the living room, the front window had a brick through it. Glass scattered across the floor. A note was tied to the brick with rubber bands. Tom Martinez was already on his phone with police, and several people had rushed outside to look for whoever threw it. Marcus picked up the brick carefully, untied the note, and read it aloud. Last chance, midnight. Come alone or we come in. The room went silent. That's a direct threat, Frank said. With 47 witnesses, they're getting desperate or confident, Marcus countered. They know I can't hide behind people forever. David stepped forward. You're not going anywhere alone. That's exactly what they want. If I don't show, they'll assume I'm refusing and they'll escalate. Maybe not tonight with all these people here, but tomorrow or next week or next month. They'll wait until Emma's alone or until I'm vulnerable, and then, Marcus didn't finish. So, we call their bluff, Tom said. We all go. 47 people showing up sends a message. No, Marcus's voice was hard. You've all done enough. I won't put more people at risk. Emma's phone rang. She looked at the screen. Unknown number again. Her hands shook as she answered. Hello, Emma. It's Janet Morrison. I'm outside. Can someone let me in? Relief flooded through Emma. She pushed through the crowd to open the front door, and Morrison stood there with official-looking folders and a tired expression. I heard you had quite the gathering, Morrison said, stepping inside and surveying the packed house. Pastor Wright wasn't exaggerating about community support. She found Marcus and handed him documents. Emergency 72-hour protective custody order, signed by Judge Owens 20 minutes ago. Emma is officially under state protection in your temporary care pending tomorrow's hearing. Congratulations. You just became the fastest emergency placement in county history. Marcus stared at the papers like they might bite him. This is real as it gets, which means two things. 1. Emma stays here tonight under supervision, which, Morrison gestured at the crowd, you clearly have covered. 2. Any harm that comes to her is now a federal crime. The angels touch her. They're not dealing with local police. They're dealing with kidnapping charges and federal prosecution. Will that stop them? Emma asked. Morrison's expression was honest. I don't know, but it raises the stakes considerably. Marcus showed Morrison the brick and the note. She read it, her face darkening. This is evidence. I'm calling this into the county sheriff and requesting patrol presence for tonight. Won't that just make things worse? Marcus asked. Maybe. But you've got a hearing at 9 a.m. You just need to survive the next 14 hours. Then we deal with the long-term situation. Morrison pulled out her phone. I'm staying tonight, too. This is officially a state protection matter now. She stepped away to make calls, and Emma watched Marcus process everything. He looked like a man who'd spent 2 years expecting the worst and couldn't quite believe something might actually work out. David put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. You're not alone in this. I'm not used to not being alone. Get used to it. That's what community means. The next few hours passed in surreal fashion. People rotated shifts, some watching windows, some monitoring the street, some just sitting with Marcus and Emma like their presence alone was protection. Mrs. Chen made sure Emma ate. Robertson taught her to play chess, his shotgun propped against the wall like a sleeping guard dog. Linda went through the hearing process with Marcus, preparing him for likely questions. At 10 p.m., Emma's phone rang again. This time, it was her mother. Emma almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Baby. Her mother's voice was different, clearer, more sober than Emma had heard in months. I heard what's happening. The social worker called me. What do you want, Mom? I want her mother's breath caught. I want to tell you I'm sorry for real this time. Not the sorry that means I'm scared or guilty. The sorry that means I understand what I did to you. Emma felt her throat get tight. You left me to die. I know. Her mother was crying now. I know, and I can't take it back. I can't fix it. I'm in a program, 90 days inpatient, and they made me write out all the things I've done, all the people I've hurt. Your name was first on the list. It's been first 4 years, but I couldn't see it until now. So what? You're clean now. and that makes everything okay. No, nothing makes it okay. But I'm calling because her mother's voice steadied, because the social worker said, there's a hearing tomorrow about you staying with that man who found you. And she said you might have to testify about whether you feel safe, whether you want to stay. Yeah, so I'm calling to tell you if you want to stay with him. If he makes you feel safe in a way I never did, then you should say that. You should tell the judge the truth. Don't protect me. Don't worry about my feelings. You pick what's best for you. Emma couldn't breathe. You're telling me to choose him over you. I'm telling you that you already chose him the second you got in his truck instead of freezing to death waiting for me. And you were right to do it. So tomorrow when they ask you if you want to stay, you tell them yes. You tell them he saved you. You tell them he's what I should have been and never was. Tears were streaming down Emma's face now. I hate you. I know you should. But maybe someday you won't. And on that day, if you want to talk to me, I'll be here sober, trying to be better, not for you. I don't get to ask anything of you, but for me, so I can sleep at night knowing I finally did one thing right. The line went quiet and Emma realized her mother had hung up. Marcus was suddenly there kneeling in front of her. You okay? My mom just told me to testify against her tomorrow. That must have been hard for her to say. Why are you defending her? I'm not. But I know what it costs to admit you failed someone you love. I know how much courage that takes. Marcus handed Emma a tissue. Doesn't mean you have to forgive her. Just means she's trying. Trying isn't the same as succeeding. No, but it's better than not trying at all. At 11 p.m., Morrison received a call. She stepped outside, talked for 5 minutes, then came back looking grim. Sheriff's Department has eyes on 3 Hells Angels bikes circling the neighborhood. They're testing our perimeter, seeing how we respond. Let me go talk to them, Marcus said immediately. Absolutely not. That's what they want. To isolate you, get you alone. Morrison checked her watch. 1 hour until their deadline. We just need to outlast it. But at 11:30, the power went out. The house plunged into darkness, and Emma heard 47 people react at once. Gasps, movements, Tom Martinez cursing as he checked the breaker box. They cut the line, Tom announced. This wasn't a grid failure. Someone physically disconnected us. Flashlights clicked on, phones glowed, but the darkness felt oppressive. Emma grabbed Marcus's hand, and he held it tight. Everyone stay calm. David's voice cut through the tension. We knew they'd try something. This is it. We hold position. Through the broken window, Emma could hear motorcycle engines, not passing by this time. Idling close, Marcus' entire body went rigid. They're here. Morrison was on her phone, speaking urgently to the sheriff. We need units now. They're making their move. A voice called from outside, amplified somehow. Viper, Hammer, time's up. Come out, or we come in. Frank grabbed Marcus's arm. Don't you go out there. You're dead. And then they come for Emma anyway. If I don't go, people get hurt. These people came here to help me. I won't let them die for it. Then we all go, David said, moving toward the door. Safety in numbers. But before anyone could move, headlights flooded the street. Not motorcycles. Police cruisers, at least 6 of them, lights blazing. Emma heard Viper curse, heard the motorcycles rev, heard chaos outside as the angels scattered. The police vehicles formed a barrier around the house, and within minutes, officers were knocking on the door. Morrison let them in. The lead officer was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. Janet Morrison. I'm Sheriff Linda Vasquez. Got your emergency call. What's the situation? Morrison explained, while Marcus stood pale and shaking like he couldn't quite believe they'd actually been saved. The sheriff listened, took notes, examined the brick and the note. We picked up 2 of them trying to flee, Vasquez said. Running their IDs now. You, Marcus Stone. Yes, ma'am. You the one who testified in the federal RICO case last year? Yes, ma'am. Vasquez studied him. Heard you had a rough time after threats, harassment. This part of that? Yes, mum. Well, consider this your official notice that you're now under county protection pending resolution of these threats, will maintain a presence overnight. Anyone approaches his house, they deal with us. She looked at Emma. You must be the little girl everyone's protecting. Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. You're a lucky kid. Most people don't get a second chance at family, let alone a community willing to fight for them. Vasquez turned back to Marcus. We'll talk more tomorrow after your hearing. For now, try to get some sleep. You're safe. The sheriff and her deputies established a perimeter, and slowly the tension in the house began to ease. People started to relax, some even laughing with relief. Mrs. Chen made tea. Robertson put his shotgun away. David led a prayer of thanksgiving that Emma didn't participate in, but didn't mock either. At midnight, the deadline passed without incident. At 2 a.m., Emma fell asleep on the couch, Marcus sitting beside her, neither of them willing to be separated. At 7 a.m., Morrison woke them both. Time to get ready. Court in 2 hours. Emma had never been inside a courtroom. It was smaller than she expected, less impressive. Judge Patricia Owens sat behind a raised desk, her grey hair pulled back, her expression unreadable. Morrison sat at one table with Marcus and Emma. A woman from the county attorney's office sat at another, representing the state's interest. The courtroom was packed. David, Mrs. Chen, Tom, Frank, Linda, Robertson, they'd all come. Emma felt their presence like armor. Judge Owens called the court to order and looked directly at Emma. Miss Russo, I understand you've had quite the week. Yes, ma'am. I've reviewed your case file. I've read the emergency petition. I've spoken with Ms. Morrison and with Pastor Wright, but I need to hear from you directly. How did you meet Mr. Stone? Emma told the story. The bus shelter, the cold, her mother leaving, Marcus stopping. She didn't embellish, didn't leave anything out, including her initial fear. Were you afraid of him? The judge asked. At first, yes. Are you still afraid? Emma looked at Marcus, who sat rigid in his chair, trying to control his breathing. No, ma'am. Why not? Because afraid means you think someone might hurt you. Marcus has had 100 chances to hurt me. He gave me his phone so I could call for help. He gave me the bed and slept on the couch. He gave me choices instead of orders. He told me the truth about his past instead of lying. People who want to hurt you don't do those things. The county attorney stood. Your Honor, Mr. Stone has a violent criminal history, 3 assault convictions, weapons charges, documented gang affiliation. While his recent actions may seem noble, we can't ignore that he's fundamentally unsuitable for child placement. Fundamentally unsuitable, Emma repeated, anger flaring. You know what's fundamentally unsuitable? Leaving your 8-year-old daughter in a snowstorm, choosing drugs over your child. The system that shuffles kids between homes like we're packages nobody wants to deliver. Marcus isn't perfect, but he's trying. That's more than most people do. Judge Owens held up a hand. Miss Russo, I understand you're upset, but no, you don't understand. Emma interrupted, and Morrison tried to quiet her. But Emma kept going. Everyone keeps talking about what's best for me like they know, but nobody asked me. Nobody asked if I wanted to go to another group home, another foster family that'll give up when I'm too difficult. Marcus didn't give up. When people told him he couldn't keep me, he found people who could help. When the angels threatened him, he chose to protect me instead of protecting himself. So, yeah, he's got a past, but I've got a past, too. And nobody's using that to say I don't deserve a future. The courtroom was silent. Judge Owens leaned forward. Mr. Stone, do you have anything to add? Marcus stood and Emma could see his hands shaking. Your Honor, everything Emma said is true. I do have a violent past. I've hurt people, destroyed lives, made choices I can never take back. For 2 years, I've been trying to prove I'm different now, but I didn't really believe it myself. Not until I met Emma. His voice cracked slightly. She asked me why I stopped that night. Truth is, I almost didn't. I almost kept riding. But then I thought about my sister, about all the people who drove past her when she needed help, and I couldn't be one of those people. So I stopped and Emma got in my truck, and for the first time in years, I felt like maybe I could be something other than the monster I'd been. He looked at Emma. I know I'm not qualified. I know the law says I shouldn't be here. But that little girl saved my life just as much as I saved hers. And if you take her away, you're not just punishing me. You're telling her that people can't change, that past mistakes define you forever, that there's no such thing as second chances. And I don't think that's what the law is supposed to do. Judge Owens was quiet for a long moment, reading documents, making notes. Finally, she spoke. This is one of the most unusual cases I've seen in 20 years on the bench. By every standard metric, Mr. Stone should not be approved for placement. However, she paused. I'm also looking at 47 character witnesses, a pastor willing to provide oversight, a community willing to support this arrangement, and a child who is articulate, intelligent, and clear about what she needs. Emma's heart hammered. I'm granting a provisional 6-month placement under strict conditions. Mr. Stone, you will complete parenting classes within 60 days. You will maintain steady employment. You will submit to weekly home visits from Ms. Morrison. You will have zero contact with Hell's Angels members. Any violation, and Emma returns to state custody immediately. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus whispered. Double quotes Emma. Do you understand that this is temporary, that we'll review in 6 months? Yes, ma'am. Then we're adjourned. Miss Morrison, file the appropriate paperwork. Mr. Stone, don't make me regret this decision. The gavel came down and Emma couldn't move. 6 months. It wasn't forever. It wasn't guaranteed. But it was a chance. Marcus was crying, trying to hide it, and Emma grabbed his hand. David was crying. Mrs. Chen was crying. Half the courtroom was crying. They walked out into the hallway and Morrison pulled them aside. That was the most unlikely placement approval I've ever witnessed. Don't waste it. We won't, Marcus promised. But as they headed toward the exit, Sheriff Vasquez appeared, her expression grim. Marcus, we need to talk. We picked up Viper an hour ago. He's refusing to talk. But one of the other angels we arrested last night is cutting a deal. Says Viper had orders to eliminate you and anyone who got in the way. This wasn't just harassment. This was attempted murder. Marcus' face went pale. What does that mean? It means federal charges. It means the Angels' leadership is going down for a conspiracy. And it means you and Emma need protective custody until the trial. Vasquez looked at Emma. I'm sorry, kid. I know you just got good news. But this isn't over. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her. Just when everything seemed possible, the world was pulling it away again. But Marcus squeezed her hand and said, then we deal with it together like we deal with everything else. And Emma realized that maybe that was what family actually meant. Not perfect safety, not guaranteed happy endings, but someone who stayed through the storms and helped you fight the battles you couldn't fight alone. Protective custody turned out to be a motel room 20 miles outside Riverdale with a deputy stationed outside the door. Emma sat on one of the twin beds, staring at the ugly floral wallpaper, while Marcus paced the narrow space between furniture, like a caged animal. How long? Emma asked Morrison, who stood near the door looking exhausted. Until the trial. Federal prosecutor says 2 weeks, maybe 3. Viper and 4 other angels are being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, witness intimidation, and racketeering. They want your testimony. Marcus, I already testified once, gave them everything I knew. That was about past operations. This is about active threats, current criminal activity. They need you to establish the pattern. Morrison hesitated. They also want Emma. Marcus stopped pacing. No, she's 8 years old. I'm not putting her on a witness stand. It's not your choice, Morrison said gently. The prosecutor can subpoena her. But Emma, you don't have to do this if you're scared. I can talk to them about video testimony. Closed courtroom. I'll do it. Emma interrupted. Both adults stared at her. What? You think I'm going to hide while Marcus has to face them? We're in this together, remember. Marcus sat down heavily on the other bed. You don't understand what courtrooms are like, what defense lawyers are like. They'll try to make you doubt yourself, twist your words, make you look unreliable. Good luck with that, Emma said. And despite everything, Marcus almost smiled. Morrison's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her expression darkened. When are they sure? She hung up and looked at Marcus. Two Hells Angels prospects were just arrested, trying to enter the motel parking lot. They had weapons. The air went out of the room. How did they find us? Marcus asked. We're trying to figure that out. But we're moving you now. Pack whatever you have. They were relocated 3 times in the next week. Each motel more remote than the last. Emma missed school. Marcus missed work. They lived in a strange limbo, where every knock on the door made them jump. Every passing motorcycle made Marcus reach for the phone. On day 9, Emma's mother called. Morrison handed Emma the phone with a warning look. You don't have to talk to her. But Emma took it. Hello, baby. I heard what's happening. The news is covering the trial and they mention you. They said you're in protective custody. Her mother's voice was steady, sober. I'm scared for you. I'm okay. Are you? Because this sounds terrifying. Emma looked at Marcus, who was pretending not to listen. It is terrifying, but I'm not alone. This man who's protecting you, Marcus, the news showed his picture. He looks dangerous. He's dangerous to people who want to hurt me. Emma surprised herself with the certainty in her voice. Mom, I need to ask you something. When you called before, you said you were in a program. Are you still there? 62 days clean. Going to meetings every day. I got a job in the facility kitchen. Her mother paused. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm trying. Why are you really calling? The question seemed to catch her mother off guard, because in group therapy, they made me write letters to people I've hurt, and when I got to yours, I couldn't finish it. I've started it 17 times, but every time I try to write down what I did to you, what I put you through, her voice broke. I can't find words big enough to hold all that guilt. Emma felt her throat tighten. You don't get to feel guilty and then feel better because you admitted it. That's not how this works. I know. You left me to die. I know. And now I'm hiding in motel rooms from people who want to kill the only person who actually cared enough to stop. I know, baby. And I'm so sorry. And I know sorry isn't enough. It'll never be enough. Her mother took a shaky breath. But I'm calling to tell you something else. The prosecutor contacted me. They want me to testify about your situation, about why you were in that bus shelter. And I'm going to tell them the truth. All of it. Even the parts that make me look like the worst person in the world. Why? Because you deserve people fighting for you. And if the only way I can fight for you is by admitting what a failure I've been, then that's what I'll do. Emma didn't know what to say to that. I'm not asking for forgiveness, her mother continued. I don't deserve it, but I am asking you to let me do this one thing right. Let me help you keep the family you found, even if I couldn't be the family you needed. The call ended, and Emma sat staring at the phone. You okay? Marcus asked quietly. I don't know. She's going to testify. About what? About being a terrible mother, I think. To prove you're a better parent than she was. Emma looked up at him. Is that even allowed? In family court, character testimony matters. If your mother admits she abandoned you and confirms that I provided better care, Marcus stopped. It could help with the permanent custody petition. Permanent. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Morrison filed the paperwork last week. After the 6-month provisional period, we go back to court. Judge Owens decides if placement becomes permanent or if you go back into the system. I was going to tell you, but with everything happening, you were scared I'd get my hopes up. Yeah. Emma stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot where a deputy sat in an unmarked car. Do you want permanent custody? The question hung between them. More than I've wanted anything in my life, Marcus said finally. But Emma, I need you to understand something. Even if we win, even if the judge approves it, this won't be easy. I've got a past that'll follow us. You'll have friends whose parents don't want you at their houses because of who I am. You'll have teachers who look at me like I'm one bad day away from reverting. You'll have to defend me to people who don't understand that humans can change. Sounds exhausting. It is. Good thing I'm stubborn. Marcus's laugh was surprised and genuine. Yeah, you are. The trial started on day 14. Emma walked into the federal courthouse, holding Marcus's hand, ignoring the cameras, the reporters shouting questions. Inside, the courtroom was bigger than Judge Owens's, more intimidating. Viper sat at the defense table with 3 other angels, all of them in suits that didn't hide what they were. When Viper saw Emma, he smiled. Not a nice smile. Marcus squeezed her hand tighter. The prosecutor was a woman in her 40s, named Sarah Chen, a relation to Mrs. Chen from Riverdale, and she walked Emma through her testimony with patience and clarity. Emma told the story again. The bus shelter, Marcus stopping, the threats at the house, the brick through the window. Viper's lawyer, a slick man with expensive shoes, stood for cross-examination. Miss Russo, isn't it true that you've been in 5 foster homes in 3 years? Yes. And would you say you have trouble with authority figures? Objection, Chen said. Relevance. I'm establishing the witness's credibility and potential bias. The judge allowed it. Emma looked the lawyer in the eye. I don't have trouble with authority figures. I have trouble with adults who pretend to care and then disappear when things get hard. There's a difference. You've run away from 3 of those homes, correct? I left homes where I wasn't safe. That's not running away. That's survival. The lawyer changed tactics. You claim my client threatened you. But isn't it possible you misunderstood? That a man with Mr. Stone's violent history would have taught you to see threats where none existed? Your client said, it would be a shame if something happened to me while Marcus was at work. He said accidents happen in unsafe neighborhoods. He smiled when he said it. I understood perfectly. You're 8 years old. Don't you think adults should make decisions about your safety rather than? Adults decided to leave me in a snowstorm. An adult with a criminal record decided to save me. So, no. I don't think adults always know best. The lawyer looked frustrated. The jury looked impressed. Viper's smile disappeared. When Emma finished testifying, Marcus was called. He walked through his history with the angels, his decision to leave, the escalating threats. Viper's lawyer tried to paint him as unreliable, violent, unstable. Mr. Stone, you've been convicted of 3 assault charges. You've served prison time. You've testified against your former brothers in exchange for a plea deal. Why should this jury believe anything you say? Marcus didn't flinch. Because I'm not proud of what I was. I'm not defending my past. I'm explaining how organizations like the Hells Angels use violence and intimidation to control people who try to leave. You want to discredit me? Fine. But the evidence speaks louder than I do. The brick through my window with a threat attached. The angels arrested outside our protective custody location. The weapons they carried. You can attack my character all you want, but you can't change the facts. On day 3, Emma's mother testified. Emma watched from the gallery as her mother, thin and nervous in a borrowed dress, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor asked simple questions. Why was Emma in that bus shelter on Christmas Eve? Because I left her there. I was high. I told myself I'd come back, but I knew I wouldn't. I knew I was abandoning her, and I did it anyway. Why? Emma's mother looked directly at Emma. Because I'm an addict. Because I've chosen drugs over my daughter for 3 years. Because I'm weak in all the ways that matter. Do you believe Marcus Stone is a suitable guardian for your daughter? I believe he's what I should have been and never was. He's stable, sober, present. He fights for her instead of running from responsibility. So, yes, I believe he's suitable more than suitable. He's exactly what Emma needs. The defense didn't even cross-examine. What could they say? On day 5, the jury deliberated for 3 hours and came back with guilty verdicts on all counts. Viper and the other angels were sentenced to federal prison. Viper got 23 years. Sheriff Vasquez met them outside the courthouse. It's over. The leadership's gone. The chapter's disbanded. The threats neutralized. You can go home. Emma and Marcus stood on the courthouse steps, free for the first time in weeks. Morrison approached with paperwork. 6-month review is in 2 weeks. Judge Owens wants a home visit before then. You ready? Marcus looked at Emma. Are we? We survived death threats and federal trials. I think we can handle a home visit. They returned to Riverdale to find the house cleaned and repaired by the community. Mrs. Chen had stocked the fridge. Tom had replaced the broken window. David had left a note. Welcome home. See you Sunday. That first night back, Emma couldn't sleep. She found Marcus on the couch, also awake. You thinking about the review? She asked, thinking about everything. How close we came to losing this. How many times it almost fell apart. But it didn't. No, it didn't. Marcus looked at her. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Keep thinking something has to go wrong. Because nothing this good happens to people like me. Maybe it does now. The 6-month review came on a Tuesday. Judge Owens reviewed Morrison's reports. The home visit documentation. Emma's school records. Marcus completed parenting classes. Emma's teacher submitted a letter noting her improved grades and behavior. Pastor David testified about Marcus' continued sobriety and community involvement. Emma's mother appeared via video call from her treatment facility. I'm not asking for custody, she told the judge. I'm asking you to make this permanent. Emma has a real home now, a real father. She's thriving in ways I never made possible. Please don't take that away from her. Judge Owens looked at Emma. You've had 6 months with Mr. Stone. How has it been? Hard sometimes. He makes me do homework and eat vegetables and go to bed at reasonable times. He won't let me skip school even when I really want to. He asks about my day and actually listens to the answer. He shows up to parent-teacher conferences and learns the names of my friends and remembers when I have tests. Emma paused. He's annoying and overprotective, and he still can't cook anything except breakfast food. But he's mine, and I'm his, and that's all I want. The judge was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm granting permanent custody to Marcus Stone, effective immediately. Congratulations, you're officially a family. Marcus made a sound like he'd been punched. Emma launched herself at him and he caught her, holding on like he'd never let go. Outside the courthouse, the community waited. Mrs. Chen, Tom, Linda, Frank, Robertson, David, all of them cheering and crying and celebrating like they'd won something, too. Because they had. They'd proven that community could overcome violence, that people could change. That family wasn't about blood, but about choice and commitment and showing up when it mattered. 6 months later, Emma stood in that same bus shelter where Marcus had found her. They came here every Christmas Eve now, bringing warm clothes and food and hot coffee, helping whoever needed it. Marcus had made it their tradition. You ever regret it? Emma asked as they packed up supplies, stopping that night, taking on all this mess. Marcus loaded the last box into the truck and looked at her. Emma, I spent 45 years being one kind of person, angry, violent, alone. Then I spent one night being a different kind of person, kind, brave, connected. And that one night changed everything. He closed the truck door. So, no, I don't regret it. Not for a second. Emma climbed into the passenger seat as snow began to fall, gentle and clean. Through the windshield, she could see the shelter where she'd almost died, where she'd made the choice to trust a stranger, where her real life had begun. Marcus started the truck, and they drove home together through the quiet streets, to people who'd saved each other when saving seemed impossible, a former Hell's Angel and an abandoned little girl who'd become father and daughter, not through law or blood, but through something stronger. The decision to keep showing up for each other day after day, no matter how hard the world tried to pull them apart. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.